Good night. This is the Cutting Edge and IRFM there with you next Wednesday. Yes. You know, we was very busy this weekend, going to different things and enjoying myself. One of the best part of the thing was the launch of this documentary put on by Manifesto Jamaica about some youth from the inner city who, after trials and tribulation, end up in a Glasgow in Scotland and performed there and did a wonderful performance. Make the people them who invite them there and the people them who train them very proud. And we went to see the launch, very, very packed crowd. As a matter of fact, it's the first time I got a place in a whoop yard, and I never even know that's all what them call it Serengeti. I never know say I'll get the place there exists in a whoop yard. I thought I was going to whoop yard. Very nice, quaint little place to keep functions. It was wonderful. So we want to yell up Manifesto Jamaica for really the presentation. It was great, 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 great. Yes, once again, this is the Cutting Edge. Good night. You know, the other day, they what them call the Christmas season. And you know, that is when the capitalists them come out to play. We just passed through an American idea. We take hold in a Jamaica, them call it Black Friday. A lot of people say the Black Friday was coming off of slavery. When they had the biggest auction them on a Friday during slavery days. But them not only have Black Friday, them have Thanksgiving. You know, so that was when the Europeans came to America and almost wipe out the Native American them and take with them the land and thank God to give them the land. You know, the Native Americans don't celebrate Thanksgiving because them see it as a disrespect and a dishonor to them ancestors that some foreigners, aliens should have come in at them land, take over them land, claim it, and now giving thanks by killing turkey and giving thanks to the bounty of the Americas. And then another one named Cyber Monday. You think them easy? Cyber Monday now is where you use up your credit card online to buy things where you don't want. So they will make it as a whopper, you know. Thanksgiving, one of the biggest shopping holidays in America, if not the biggest, bigger than Christmas. Because while it's not everybody celebrate Christmas in America, because you have the Jews them who celebrate Hanukkah, and you know, it's only Christians and Christian-minded people and people who think them can make money after the Christmas season celebrate Christmas. But Thanksgiving, whether you're Jew or Gentile, you celebrate Thanksgiving because you thank God for help you to rob the Native Americans them, of them land, of them water, of them air. Kill off the buffalo them and all these things and put up the head of the buffalo on your wall. Terrible thing that. So them celebrate this and continue celebrating it. Have we getting involved in it? Just like how them have some niggas now we get involved in what you call Halloween. You can imagine black people are celebrate Halloween. We have enough ghosts road, we already are frightened. We must just go frighten myself again. But that's the way the cookie crumbles. We kind of do things because, you know, Steve Biko say the greatest weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. The greatest weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. So how weird it is that people can make you do things and actually believe, make you believe says you actually choose to do it on your own. That is really what take place. We have found ourselves in a situation where we are doing things and actually believe that the freedom that we supposed to possess allows us to do these things on our own free will, not knowing that it has been embedded in us. It has been embedded in us through all manner of ways, through the television, through advertisements, promotions, and just through history, that we as African people choose not to embrace our own things, but make others define us in for them own way. And we internalize all of what they gave us and start to become what they want us to be. Terrible, terrible. And when some people come and show us the way, they might either kill the people, get the people mad, or arrest them and carry them go to jail. How long will we stand aside and look? How long? It's too long now. 400 years cannot be wiped away so easily. 400 years. And it continues. But some of us survive. We survive the Atlantic Ocean. We survive the water graves of the Atlantic Ocean. We survive the torture and the pain and the anguish where our mothers drink them tears because them don't want the tears to fall upon the ground. We survive. We survive the anguish and the pain, the lynching and the burning, the whipping and the lashing, the sexual exploitation that now we have internalized these sexual exploitation and turn it and do it on ourselves. All manner of crazy things. So we don't really need another hero because so much heroes come and show us the way. That why I don't know what else. What else is going to wake up these African people and so? You know, what else? You sing song, you read poem, you do all sort of thing. But them sleep and push them head in the sun like the ostrich who feeds them hiding because them head in the sun. The greatest weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. And when a man can use your mind to the point where you do things believing that you are freely doing the things because you want to do it, not knowing that your mind has been is control, mind control, them have it pan. This is the cutting edge. And RFM. Buju Bantal will come out of prison a week and a half time. I could say 2 week time. You know, him go there for coke. Them say conspiracy, coke. And him say him not guilty. We are saying serve a time for a situation where him find himself in a. Now is a different time now. So when him come out, we will see what will take place because we know him supposed to be armed and extremely dangerous. I have a whole heap of time to reevaluate and rethink and do all sorts of things. Almost like a new person. One of my greatest influence in life was Malcolm X. When Malcolm X was doing all sorts of things and going to prison and change up his life and his system and come out to be one of the greatest black man in my time who ever lived. One of the greatest black man who ever lived to me. Malcolm Little. Shabazz. Malcolm Little, them used to call him. Reds, because he was a red nigger. Malcolm X, red nigger. For all the people in Jamaica, but Malcolm, they say, why? A white man, they are different black people. No. Red nigger will come in all different flavors. We must know that. So, Buju Banton time, I'm going to show the world what him is made of and what him learn sitting in those four walls and one window. Yeah, next year is designated in Ghana as the year of return. 2019, the year of return. And we are told that there's a lot of activities that will be taking place in Ghana especially. Not only in Ghana, but Ghana is the initiator. The president of Ghana initiated that move, the year of return. So we want you to know that things is happening. And what is even more heartening to the people them who fight for reparation over the years. And you have people who badmouth it and say, "Sure, foolishness that gone a long time." Well, opening year is good because the University of Glasgow in Scotland has admitted that the university was started and funded by slave labor in Jamaica especially, that the main character in the building and the making of the Glasgow University in Scotland was a slave owner in Jamaica who got his money out of cane. I want you to hear what I say. The university, Glasgow University in Scotland, was built off slave money earned from slave trade, making slaves work, especially in Jamaica, and the funds was sent back to Scotland to build that university. So now they have done examination and now they are saying that the University of Glasgow is willing to pay reparation money. Willing to pay reparation money. So we're going to see what there is, what we call continued talks going on between the representation of the, what them call it, the reparation movement and the university in Glasgow. And we know that that is going to be a ripple effect. We know it's going to be a ripple effect. We know it's going to be a ripple effect because them can't hide no longer. Justice must prevail no matter how much years it takes. And even though the Queen Elizabeth declared that she has nothing to do with it, and as a matter of fact, in those days it was legal. Slavery was a legal industry. We know say good must overcome evil. The worst atrocity that has ever been done to human beings by human being against human being is the transatlantic slave trade. And we can mention Leopold, King Leopold of Belgium, who has never been to who have never been to the Congo, but has caused 10 million Africans to die under his, what we call kingship. Imagine that. A man who never go to Congo yet. But we hear about the Jewish Holocaust. 6 million Jews die. And the whole world is shaken by that. No one mourns 10 million black people who die in the Congo. And the others, millions who died in the transatlantic slave trade that continue in the minds of a lot of African people. Well, next year in Ghana is designated the year of return. Why keep that in your head, keep that in your brain. Very important. This is the first time no African country is going to come out and say, all right, we're going to give a situation where any African outside of Africa And any African who live in Ghana for over 5 years can claim legitimate citizenship. If you have been there for over 5 years, you can claim legitimate citizenship in Ghana. We want to go there to find out what about this visa thing that we have been lobbying for years now, where you have to get a visa to go in there. You have to pay $150. Whether you get it from here or you go on arrival, because that is what most African countries do. They give you the visa on arrival. When you reach at the airport, make sure you have your $150 to buy the visa. We see that happening in Senegal. We see that happening all over Africa. Visa on arrival. We see that even in Ethiopia too. But one of the things that is very impressive is that Guyana of all the countries where that is thing, Guyana is now collaborating with African airlines to have direct flight from Guyana to west coast of Africa. Guyana. Anytime we talk about the narrative of African and this and that, most of the time we have never actually mentioned Guyana. But now we see Guyana step forward. After so much years from here, Jamaica days, now we see the owner of Caribbean Airline. It's like Guyanese. I know not with the one named not the Caribbean Airline. Them have one the Jamaica, Fly Jamaica. Fly Jamaica is not a Jamaican airline. Can you believe that? Not Caribbean Airline, Fly Jamaica. Guyana is stepping forward. Guyana going to start. Remember, I said Barbados, they tried with the Nigerian thing. Barbados, they tried under the watch of a Rasta Virgin who passed away from them time there. Now we see Guyana is now saying we want to see the legitimacy and the feasibility of flights direct from Guyana into Ghana. What a beautiful idea that has been lingered in our minds for years. Those ideas have been lingering in our mind, but we say a whole heap of things what we used to say and what we still are saying going to come to pass. We don't have no doubt about it. That's why we don't stop saying it. One would wonder how come we have to say the same thing over and over. But that is the purpose of this microphone in front of it, to keep saying the thing over and over like an advertisement for your television. We make you go buy products so you don't want. This is a living advertisement to make you see, say, we're in a serious situation as African people. And we need to do things to come out of it. So when we hear about the year of return, we have to hug that up. When we hear about Guyana, I'm going to start airline travel direct to Africa, we have to hug that up. All the celebrations that Africans celebrate, we have to hug it up. Because see that we hug up Christmas. Look how much money I got to spend. The amount of money, the amount of falls, ear and falls, eyelash and falls, fingernail and clocks, booty and tight up pants and all these things we are going to sell. Well, we don't buy, we don't sell, we don't make none of them things there. Most of the things that we are going to buy, we don't make it, we don't manufacture them. Them come from China, Taiwan, Tai 2 and Tai 3. We don't have nothing to do with the manufacturing of these goods. But them pray for we because, I want to say pray about PREY, them pray for we because we know, them know say, we as consumers, rather than manufacturers. And all the poison toys, them, where America no want, where China make and America ban it, end up in the Caribbean or so. Them lead poisoning and mercury poisoning toys where children them play with during Christmas. Every Christmas them play with it. One of the Christmas, you go and see your picnic sick And you try to figure out his one. When them go to doctor, them can't diagnose his what wrong with him. You never know, say some of the little toys them where you buy during Christmas. A poison the pick them slowly but surely. Terrible, terrible. Made in China toys. A lot of them have been banned in America and other countries. But them find them way into so-called third world countries continuously. Because there's no designated group or company governmentally that is monitoring the things them that come into the island, that is poisoning our people slowly and slowly. So when you go to the doctor now, them can't diagnose what I'm to you. And most of the diagnosis now is cancer. Because that is what these things cause, cancer. I see young children, in the prime of them line, be snatched away by some little lead toys, fancy jingle jangles that them put in front away. This is the Cutting Edge on RFM. Yes, we're there with you. Cutting Edge. Go on, play this.
So the narrative of black people in the United States was, you know, you came from these primitive, savage people who had no history, and everything you are, we made you.
Strip the African of his knowledge of himself. You can then replace that knowledge with any falsification of consciousness you desire. Once you take from me my knowledge of myself, you can then tell me those lies.
To get someone to actually think that someone else is inferior, you have to raise that type of mentality to a religious level.
Remember, when they attacked Africa, they did not attack Africa physically. They did not attack Africa educationally. They attacked Africa spiritually. Jomo Kenyatta said when the European first came to Africa, the Africans had the land and the white man had the Bible. The white man told him to close his eyes, get on his knees and pray. Jomo said when the black man opened his eyes, the white man had the land and the black man had the Bible.
It's just been awful how they've did us on religion. And our people tend to think that even those who feel that they know that white Americans have mistreated us, their grandchildren or great-grandchildren still mistreating us in a lot of ways. They still believe, well, but nobody will lie about God, when that's not true. People who are trying to subjugate another people and turn them into slaves, not just physically, but mentally, then they certainly would try to teach them that God looks like me. We thought the only God we had was the one that white people gave us, which was Jesus, okay? And he looked like them. And when we saw them, psychologically, we would transfer that was deity. If it really was unimportant what he looked like, then why didn't he look like some of the majority of the people on earth? Why would he look like the people who are the minority race on the entire earth? We're not the minority.
People always ask me, why do the black church not get rid of the white Jesus and put a blue black Jesus in place with a nappy head? Because black people would stop coming.
In fact, today, if you were to go to Africa and talk to the children who've been Christianized, they will tell you that their ancestors covenanted with devils, and this is why black people are in the condition they are today. So turn to Christianity, and of course you turn to the oppressor's religion, and then you eat the gruel that they give you, and at the bottom it says Jesus saved you. Of course, you're conditioning that person for another 1,000 years.
Christ. When you talk about the image of Christ, it is important that we no longer ascribe to the European image of Christ. Why? Because the brain is a associating organism. It stores everything as pictures. And because it is associating, if you force feed an African child that Christ is white, because the brain associates, as that child begins to grow, the brain will associate white Christ with white people. And so if white Jesus is God, then white people must also be the gods of humanity. And so guess what? The power in the painting is transferred to the people who resemble that painting. And so it is difficult to pray to a white Jesus and not in some way feel inferior to white people. And that's why when I talk to Christian ministers, I often tell them you have to change these pictures. They say it don't matter. Of course it matters. Why do you think the European went around the world and systematically altered the image of Christ in every major cathedral, every major church, every corner of the globe? Because it is difficult to oppress a people whose image of the God doesn't look like the oppressor. But when God and the oppressor look one in the same, then the people will come to believe that the oppression was ordained by God.
Can't fight that. That is reality, facts, something that we should have think about continuously until we understand the dynamics of the white Jesus imprinted in our subconsciousness. Serious reasoning, very serious.
See, Jomo Kenyatta once said, when the missionaries arrived, the Africans had the land and the missionaries had the Bible. They taught us how to pray with our eyes closed. And when we opened them, they had the land and we had the Bibles. Do you see how swiftly they pulled wool from the lamp of God over our eyes? The greatest lie colonialism ever told was that it brought God to Africa. Yes, they brought their Bibles, but they did not bring God to our lands. Yes, they brought their churches, but they did not bring God to our lands. Yes, they brought their guns, but they did not bring God to our lands. What they brought was an image made to justify the breaking of our bodies like communion bread, a false idol that to this day I still see hanging in so many Kenyan homes, a frame full of blonde hair, pink and pale skin, eyes, a light blue piercing enough to draw blood, to have already drawn blood.
Yes, poem from Kenya. This is the Cutting Edge on RFM. As we say continuously, we're going to continue the journey.
What we are witnessing at our borders with black and brown families today is not who America has become. This is who America has always been. We have been here before. I know it feels brand new, but it's not. America snatched indigenous children from their families and their land in the name of God. America enslaved African-born children from their families for subjugation and control in the name of God. America snatched Japanese American children from their families, ruled by fabricated fear in the name of God. America snatched 250,000 predominantly black and brown children from parents who are caged in a prison industrial complex that is too profitable for the few in the name of God. And let us not forget, America sent back fleeing Jewish refugees back to their death in the name of God. America snatched over 30,000 children and caged them in juvenile detention centers where we would rather incarcerate than educate in the name of God. America has been here before, and here we are again, declaring ourselves to be one nation under God, and yet daring to curse that which God has blessed. Who is this God whose name we declare as we legislate evil in God's name? We must always remember that this is not as much about safe immigration policy as it is about separatist ideology. When our leaders use scripture to legislate hate, they do not speak on behalf of God. The misappropriation of Romans 13 was not strong enough to uphold slavery, and it is not strong enough to uphold this current evil. There is a higher law than that made by man, and that law is love, my friends. People of faith must lead with love. People of faith must legislate with love. People of faith must be governed by love. People of faith must fight always for love. For if there is not love, there is not God. Remember, history says love always wins.
The system of apartheid still exists. You want to know where? Palestine. The system of apartheid is perpetuated by the people who say them as Jews against the people who they come say that land was given to them by the British, and now they claim it as their own and claim history as their own, claiming that the people them in the Bible is their ancestors. I will know say no go so. Everybody I blame everybody, man, me I tell you. So we realize there's really a mind control thing going on. Total mind control. Yes, we're there with you. Cutting edge. So we want to play this.
The courts of law give us the chance to judge innocence and guilt. But is guilt reduced or removed by the passage of time? That's the question raised by our next document. For more than 300 years, European merchants forced Africans onto slave ships and transported them across the Atlantic Ocean. And Britain played a huge part in this human trade. British ships carried around 3 million slaves to America and the Caribbean, where they worked on plantations, helping to build the wealth of the City of London. The trade made many organizations rich, and I've discovered in the archives that includes a very surprising name. God Almighty has set before me the abolition of the slave trade. So wrote the great reformer William Wilberforce. And yet, during the 18th century, there were slaves in the Caribbean who bore branded on their chest the word society. This 1817 register of slaves in Barbados reveals that society means the honourable and reverent society for the propagation of the gospel in foreign parts, the missionary arm of the Church of England. And here is that society listed as owning some 400 slaves. Listed here, then, is every man, woman and child owned by the society. We see that their ages range very considerably. Cudjoe is 70 years old, and he's working as a domestic. It seems that Ben George can be set to work as a grass gatherer, even though he's only 10 years old. Some slaves are still alive at a very grand age. Here's Rita, who's 90 years old. She's infirm. She's no longer working. But on the other hand, Okoa and Kwashiba, who are both 80 years old, are both still working as nurses. The documents don't reveal the conditions that some of the slaves would have endured. 12-hour working days in intense heat, punishments such as the lash or being put in leg irons. For the slave owners, like the church, it was the profit of the plantation that mattered. These pages bear the musty smell of their 200 years and also the stench of hypocrisy. Today we can still see the wealth in our capital constructed on the foundations of slavery. The Corporation of London had its seat in the magnificent Guildhall. Sir William Beckford made a fortune from slave plantations in Jamaica and was twice Lord Mayor. William Beckford, the Lord Mayor, might have been focused on profit, but the church added a moral purpose to slavery.
They recognize that slavery is problematic, but they also recognize that these slaves, the Africans, come from this dark continent, and therefore they need to be civilized. And slavery, while not perfect, provides an opportunity for bringing Africans into the body of humanity.
Does the Church of England succeed with this mission of civilizing the slaves?
It's a complete failure. They failed to convert the numbers that they had hoped to, partly because Christianity provides a point of resistance for slaves. How do you resist this terror? Well, you refuse to take on their religion. They brand slaves with hot irons as a sign of ownership, and they flog them to death, and they also sell them off when they can't work anymore.
So they don't treat them any better than slaves on any other plantation?
That's what the historical documents suggest, that the Church of England plantation is no different to any other plantation.
Glory, glory, hallelujah, when I lay my burdens down.
The international slave trade was abolished in 1807. But it wasn't until 1833 that Parliament outlawed slavery as an institution. Compensation was paid, not to the slaves, but to their owners. Documents show that for freeing its slaves, the church received nearly £9,000, a fortune at that time.
We have in Britain today a history of churches, of church buildings that are built on the blood and sweat and brutalization of Africans.
Old pirates, yes, they robbed I, sold I to the merchant ships.
In 2006, the then Archbishop of Canterbury apologized for the Church of England's role. But neither it nor the state has met calls to pay reparations. Its historic actions clearly weigh on the conscience of the Church of England.
REFM, thought-provoking, always smoking, lyrics like a bazooka. You are listening to Mutabaruka.
For several years, the Israeli government was forcibly administering birth control to a segment of its minority population, with doctors injecting Ethiopian Jewish women against their will with a contraceptive, Depo-Provera. But it wasn't until this January that a government official finally acknowledged it. One investigative journalist who interviewed 35 Ethiopian immigrants found that they were being intimidated and threatened into taking the shots, while being told that they were merely inoculations. Now, many speculate it was all part of a deliberate attempt to restrict an expanding minority in the country. You see, over the last 2 decades, Israel has experienced a significant influx of Ethiopian immigrants. There are now being close to 130,000 living in the country. And while the government has finally put an end to this inhumane, insane population control tactic, the story has shed a light on a dangerous contraceptive that's now being pushed and administered on women of color all over the world, including right here in the U.S. So here to talk about the use of Depo-Provera and how this is targeting minority populations in both here and abroad, I'm joined now by Randy Short, President and National Spokesperson for the Anti-Depo-Provera Clergy Coalition. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
So Israel allegedly put this to an end. Can you talk about what you know about the health effects, though? Because obviously women were being administered this for years without knowing about them.
Well, the drug was first patented in 1959. By the middle 60s, there were a lot of unethical experimentations done, in particular the Grady Clinic study in Georgia on poor black and poor white women. God knows how many people died. This drug did not get approved until 1993-94, but during that time that was used on women all over. The effects of it are serious. Excessive bleeding, osteoporosis, breast cancer, cervical cancer, heart attack, stroke, ectopic pregnancies, excessive weight gain, which can lead to type 1 or 2 diabetes, short or long-term infertility, maternal death. It strips the epithelium, the inner part of the woman's womb, making her more susceptible to all STIs and STDs. Therefore, doubling the chances of getting HIV, AIDS, chlamydia, HPV, gonorrhea, or syphilis. And there are other things that bothers the mental health. One of the things that's come to us, that the group that I work with, the Rebecca Project, is that many women are telling us that they've had mental problems. The FDA in 2004 was so concerned about the dangerous nature of Depo-Provera that they issued a black box warning, which is the most serious warning that can be issued by the FDA about how dangerous this drug is.
And despite this warning, this black box warning, it's still being administered under multiple agencies to multiple countries around the world.
Yes.
Who is administering it? Why? And where?
Well, it's being used primarily in non-white countries. So Muslim countries, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Indonesia, Burma, possibly on the Myanmar minority, all over Africa, Central America, and Latin America. And of course, the United States, depending on whose information you look at, it's disproportionately used on African American women. Who's doing it? Planned Parenthood is one of the big purveyors of it. In addition to that, you have the Population Council, you have the International Federation of Planned Parenthood, you have a lot of persons and groups that have a Malthusian view that there are too many people
and therefore they want to reduce the population. They know this drug is deadly, it's cheap, and it makes huge profits for the parent maker, which is Pfizer.
And USAID is also one of the agencies as well.
For 47 years, it's been an unofficial policy of the USAID Office on Population to use or to send abroad dangerous, unsafe, untested, or unapproved drugs.
And you said that this is being obviously disproportionately affecting minority populations.
Yes.
If they know that it's deadly, why would they be administering it to minority populations? I mean, what is really this all about here?
There are too many non-white people. If you look at a gentleman by the name of Dr. Ravenholt, who was head of the USAID Office on Population from about 1966 until 1979, he was able to first convince President Johnson that it was in the national and commercial interests of the United States that 1/4 of the women in the developing world be sterilized. So there's some sense that if there are too many black or brown people, that somehow their needs will conflict with the capitalistic, imperialistic aims of the United States and its allies.
And there's been multiple lawsuits against Pfizer for the detrimental health effects from this drug, but they seem to be getting away with it and seem to keep, direct-to-consumer advertising. How are they doing this?
Well, they're making a lot of money. The U.S. Department of Justice has sued them in the last 10 years and fined them about $6 billion. But if you're making billions and billions, it's the price of doing business. But you have to understand, the people that are being steered towards this drug are poor. They lack education and legal representation, and they're being tricked, so they don't know. Now, you have to understand, Pfizer lost in Canada. They've lost in Europe. But they go to countries where they can't be sued. You can't sue from Nigeria here. You can't sue from Mozambique here. So you can go to countries where you either have a corrupt government structure or they're coerced, or should I say they've constructively manipulated into having this drug as part of their international foreign aid. Do you see what I'm saying? So the women become just chess pieces in a Malthusian eugenics game.
And so you think this goes beyond just a corporation making as much money as it can, pushing it on as many people as it can? You think it actually goes down to, this is a modern day form of eugenics?
And genocide, yes.
And it's happening here in the U.S. as well?
Yes, it is.
Well, that's very shocking, and we'll definitely follow up with this story. Very disturbing. Thank you so much for coming on. Right. Thank you for your time. Randy Short, President, National Spokesperson.
And I'm REFM,
on human rights. Thought-provoking, always smoking.
This is the culture that, when we are talking about reparation that is necessary for help to level up the playing field in a little way. A whole heap of black people don't really want you deal with that, Because they must say, we're gone bad a morning, can't go good evening. They must say, things gone bad already and we have to move forward. Anybody who say that to you don't understand what the meaning of reparation. So I am imploring you to go and look in your dictionary what reparation means. And the murder and brutal killing of millions of African people do have no time limit on it. Where you can say that gone long time, so nobody cannot be held responsible. There must be some responsibility taken by the people who did it. Haile Selassie make a speech, and it was put to music by Bob Marley. Haile Selassie say, until the philosophy that all one race superior and the other inferior, until the color of a man's skin is of no more significant than the color of his eyes. Year in, year out, we examine the speech and we say, when Haile Selassie say, until the philosophy that all one race superior and the other inferior. What is that philosophy? We declare that the philosophy of white supremacy that perpetuate and maintain racism, the philosophy is racism, white supremacy, that philosophy that all one race superior and the other inferior. We did not create that philosophy. We were victims of that philosophy. So in the end part, I just say, until that day, we Africans will fight if it is necessary, because we are confident in the victory of good over evil. Until that day, we Africans will fight if it is necessary, for we are confident in the victory of good over evil. So we echo those sentiments that was said many years ago by Haile Selassie I, that we Africans will fight if it is necessary, because we are confident in the victory of good over evil. And fighting don't necessarily mean guns and bombs, but then we're not going to left out nothing. But we just say that the fight now is the hearts and minds of the people who has been domiciled on these former slave plantation island for hundreds of years and don't recognize how cooped in they are. That there is that space that is freedom, that is liberation, that is necessary for the survival of the planet with the people them on it. Because you have some people now, through them have money and them can build machine, them going to destroy the planet and go up on the next planet to live. And we there talk about the meek shall inherit the earth. They don't just want the earth. And how them are run the thing and how them are pollute. What are we saying to ourselves and our children about the ignorance that we continue to give and offer ourselves and others? The ignorance of who we are as a people, how we define ourselves as a people, as African people, living in a world that is not of our design. As a matter of fact, the design now is totally against our survival. But we are going to survive. We must survive. We are the black survivors. We must survive. We survive the African Holocaust. We survive all of these things that them put drugs and disease and bad food and bad clothes and bad sex and bad education, bad religion, all of them things. We survive and we're still there. And we will fight if it is necessary, because we are confident in the victory of good over evil. And we're not talking about no God and no devil. We are talking about good and evil. There is such thing, and sometimes good people do bad things. Yes, I have to recognize that. Like you push a dog around for so long, one day that dog will turn and bite you. Yes, here. Listen, man.
But the thing we are talking about, you know, so then I listen to BBC News and you start about the Yemen, man.
Eh?
Yeah. The thing we are talking about since night in Africa, man.
What that? Which one of them? Which one of them?
We start about a bomb Yemen, man.
The what?
A bomb they place down East Africa.
Me talk about bombing in East Africa?
No, them, when I say, me one nurse, a beg. The beg them say, no, for bomb the last hospital down there. So that's how dangerous it is.
Okay.
I mean, I talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
They know what I feel, though.
No.
Sayas, man.
Who?
Sayas.
Sayas from where?
Where you do the video with you, man?
Do the what?
Do a video with you in a land bookstore, man. And Dr. Martin and the girl from Trinidad.
How long ago that? How long ago that?
Long time, man. You need to come take with a park, man, and carry down there.
No, man, ask you how long ago? Like, how long ago?
About 12 years now.
Okay, alright. A long time.
I'm call you all the while, man. I'm always the Pioneer FM.
Okay.
I'm always call the program all the while.
Alright. Alright, sir. Give thanks.
So, you know?
Yeah.
Now big up few. Now big up a shop in a Christiana. That, you know again. What's that name again? What your name?
Yeah, big up a shop.
Eh? Daya. Yeah, now big up Naya shop in a Christiana Square.
Then why not big up Naya instead of...
Big up Naya in the shop, yeah.
Then why not big up Naya instead of big up the shop?
No, try to every day, you know, have a drink.
Yeah, big up.
Yeah, man, big up Naya, man. Yeah, man, I play all up the place.
Yeah, man, you have to big up Naya, you can't big up Naya shop.
Yeah, man, yeah.
Yeah, alright, sir, give thanks.
Yeah, I big up Panty and Grace, a bench stand.
Big up, wait, the whole hand, you big up who? Panty?
Pampy.
Okay. Pablo, okay, alright.
That's called Pampy.
Yeah, alright, sir, give thanks, yeah?
Yeah, big up yourself. Never listen to your program, yeah?
The real power. 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 The real power. Power.
Greetings, Muto.
Yeah.
Muto?
Yeah, blessed.
Greetings, how you doing?
All right.
You hit the nail on the head with this thing today, right? So
which one of the thing then?
The one about, they should change to Jesus, right? So, like, I was asking somebody, why we don't get rid of this white Jesus? Like, it don't even, like, connect with us as a people, right? And they're like, no, they can't do that because, it's just the way, to keep people down. But like my reference is like Buddha. Buddha was from India. The Chinese took him. But Buddha looked Chinese.
When the Chinese take him, look Chinese. When the Indian have him looks Indian.
Exactly. So why we can't have a black Jesus?
Because I'm sure we say it can't go that way. It's white. Gate, so it's white. It have to be. And we still continue to insist to deal with it that way there.
Well,
but them a come round, The ones that come round, them a come round. It's slow, but them a come round.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, just listening to it, that made me think about that,
Of course.
We should really make him in our own image,
Of course.
Because, like, we're black, so, And furthermore, if he really did exist, he would be black, not white.
Yeah, well, that way I said, based upon which part the story take place, it would definitely not be white.
Exactly. So, but keep up the good work, Muta, and the program is awesome as always, Hello?
Tell me where you're calling from.
Kingston.
Oh, which part of Kingston?
I'm off Barbican Road.
Okay, all right. Give thanks, yeah?
All right, yeah, man.
Yeah. You still there? You know, listen to the tune.
All right, to speak.
Wait, I wanted this brother, Rasta. Me I play the tune for the man and the man has to the tune. Hey, a few this jack on the radio. You can call but all a whole tune like this and meanwhile you on the phone interplay, you know. So yes, EL.
EL Muta.
How you do, man? Mandingo, how you do?
Yeah, go on. Quickly. I want to highlight the case of Cherry Johnson's daughter, who was suspended from St. Michael's Roman Catholic College in Bermondsey, South London recently, and called a racist, and will be put in class isolation for 2 weeks when she returns, because she reposted a text that said 37 million people died during the European World War I, but 60 million died during slavery. Why should I care about remembrance when they can't show any respect for us during Black History Month? The school says she will be expelled from the school if the family goes to the media. So I'm saying that I am one of the media, and I am making people know what has happened. And I'll keep you posted as to further developments, you know. And for people interested, they can phone 0207 237 6432 or email contact@stmichaelscollege.org.uk and head the emails as for the attention of Mrs. V. Ferguson. Yeah, man, this is the kind of, racist kind of thing that...
So this is in London
subjected to.
In London it happened?
Yes, in Southwark, the borough of Southwark, in Bermondsey, South London. And Bermondsey is a racist, very racist area, you know. I mean, the whole country is, but, you know, you have some areas more than some, you know, for real. Yes.
So we are going different, you know. We are going different in England.
We are going differently is that on the same thing with racism. A lot of our people have gone to prison due to racism, not because they're guilty, but racist injustice. And there's a case of a brother originally from Grand Spence, St. Andrew, Jamaica, there, by the name of Baker. And his case is important in terms of when our people go to prison, it's very difficult for them to get any form of employment, because from the employees to be here that them go to prison, them can't get no employment. So there's this brethren named Baker who is about in his mid-50s now, originally from Grand Spence in London, who just spent 14 years in prison, come out only about 10 months now, and a couple weeks ago, he must employ himself because of that, and open up a food place by Morris Road, by Brixton Hill, near to Brixton Prison, coincidentally too, named Baker's Dozen, you know what I mean? So, because as he said to me, his solution to this thing, because he's now in his 50s, 55, 56, is that he has to create his own employment, because with his record of 14 years in prison, he's starting all over again. Employers don't want to give him no job, so he create his own thing. Baker's Dozen. And instead to big up all of the Grand Spence crew and everyone, especially those who have been to prison and realize that they have to create their own employment. And we know that go to people in Jamaica who come out of prison also. You know what I mean? For real, you know. Yeah, man. It's a typical thing. And last week, I hear you playing the thing them about the Chinese. Yeah. And I totally agreed with them thing the way you play. And I have to say where that is concerned is that I, Mandingo, I am totally and absolutely against the building of any Chinatown in Kemanas, St. Catherine, my native parish, or any part of Jamaica. Totally against that. And it's the same reason why a few years ago I had written to Prime Minister Portia Sims at the time, saying that we don't want no Chinese have no goat islands, have no military base and thing. And I did that, you know. So we, as Africans in Jamaica...
Well, them give them more than goat island, I know. Them give them more than goat island, I know, because the Chinese is about to invest over 10 trillion Jamaican dollars in Jamaica, and nobody not asking how come them so generous. 10 trillion dollars. No, I know. I say, how come nobody now question this idea? Why is it that the Chinese come to a little island like Jamaica and is going to invest now? Pantapa with them invest already. Over 10, not 10 billion, me say no, not 10 million, me say no, 10 trillion US dollars. Yes. Sorry, not US, 10 trillion Jamaican dollars. Why is it that are they investing such large sum of money in a little island like Jamaica? What is going to happen?
Because they want to use Jamaica as a colony, as a springboard. They want to have Jamaica as a base, just like what them trying to do, and partially as achieved in Africa, like the military base in Djibouti and the kind of economic stronghold them have in Angola and in Zambia. And we as Africans in Jamaica, the majority of the population, 90% and more, we must not allow no Chinese colonialism of Jamaica. No way at all. This is how Marcus Garvey and Queen Mother Nana and others fight for, and Samsha. See? Not from one form of enslavement by Europeans to another form of enslavement by no Chinese. And no guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know if the leaders them understand the whole implications of this thing. I don't think them understand it at all.
No, well, that's why we have to keep on letting people know that. And we don't want no Chinese come settle under the guys both say them are come as workers. As workers. We have enough workers in Jamaica for build things. You don't need not so much Chinese, but that is what them do. Them bring them excess population to settle and take over in other people's country.
Yeah, them call it
we must not allow this to happen in Jamaica.
Them call it secular colonialism.
Yes, it's yes, it's another form of colonialism. See? And it is our duty in this time as Africans now not to allow this to happen. And anyone who advocating that is a traitor to the African race. Straight up.
Well,
straight up.
I can tell you something.
You know what I mean?
I don't know if you hear a clip last week where Mr. Shah just come from China. Mr. Shah is now telling us that the Chinese is going to invest $6 billion in Jamaica, and they have already handed over $1 billion. And then the diplomat from China said they are going to build a Chinese city in Caymanas and over $2 billion US dollar.
As the people to prevent that. That is our duty. No Chinese city, nowhere in Jamaica. We as Africans can't go to China or India or nowhere else and build up no African city. So likewise, we not allowing no China doing business where no politician wants to say, whether them are PNP, GLP or no P. Marcus Garvey, we are deal with. See, no Chinese city anywhere in Jamaica. Straight. And this is our duty to make sure not to bawl and complain. Direct action. None of that. See?
All right, Bridget.
This is our duty in this time for our children and children to come. See? It's not a time for no bawling and complaining. Direct action. We have make every politician and whoever else know that we will not allow any Chinese colonization of Jamaica.
Rapid move, Bridget.
No way.
Rapid move.
Yes. All right. So take it easy.
Yeah, speaking of this, I don't know if I think too far or I think too much, but if a minister of government can announce in Jamaica that the Chinese is going to invest $6 billion, not million, $6 billion US dollars in a country, and then the diplomat from China come and say they are going to invest in a city and it's going to cost $2 billion. So we are talking about $8 billion plus what them do already, which add up to about 10 trillion Jamaican dollar. No, Jamaican people, China have 1/3 of the world population. If you take China and drop in one of the little city them, I mean not China, Jamaica, it just lasts. Jamaica is 144 miles in length and 52 miles wide at the farthest distance. That is 4,000 and odd square miles. You have to ask yourself this question. Why is it that a country so big and so powerful is going to put 10 trillion, we're not talking about no billion, a million. Why is it that a country as large as China is going to invest $10 trillion in a small little, minute little island thousands of miles away from China? What is it that they intend to get out of it? Because investment is that you're putting in to take out, you're putting in to get. Nobody invests in something and don't see that it's not going to come back, them investment not going to come back to them. You tell me, say, our government, our politicians, it's so fool and so stupid to really look into this thing and say, a country will invest trillions of dollars in a Jamaica. That is beautiful. That is wonderful. That is now going to put Jamaica, we are head of the other Caribbean islands and maybe even ahead of some of these so-called first world countries. That is going to put Jamaica in a first world state. And the Chinese going to put Jamaica in a first world state because them love Jamaica, them love the sunshine, them love the reggae music. That is why them doing it. The Chinese is falling in love with Jamaica so much that we know going to say, boy, Chinese, them love we. Them love Jamaica, them love the sunshine, them love our behave, them love the mango. I mean, really, it has to be one of the greatest and stupidest move any politicians ever make in a Jamaica or the world. Why China would have invest $8 billion US in a Jamaica? What them expect to come out? What if you put $8 billion in a country, you know? This is part of how people sell things, you know. If you buy things for $10, you're going to tell it back for $20, you know. If you buy things for $100, you're going to tell it back for $200 because you want to make 100% profit by your money where you invest. You are telling me, say, the Chinese are going to invest $10 billion in a Jamaica. Where am I going to get a profit of $10 billion from $10 billion? Where am I going to get it from? You know, this is a madness. Because them know, say, if you default on these loans, all them going to do is claim your land, claim your power supply, claim your tree them, claim the airspace where you have, and eventually claim the people them. Because now them going to have authority to come put them army down here. Them going to have a police force down here. Them going to bring all of the people them, just like how Columbus, when Columbus couldn't find nobody to come at the so-called New World with him in Spain. When him realized them have the three ship them, and him say, but the good sailors in Spain never want to come. You know where Columbus do? Columbus go in at the prisons and take out all of the degenerates of Spain and promise them gold and land if them go with him. So Columbus ship full up of peer thief and murderer and criminal and rapists, and them come on here so. And them come on here to come kill off the Tainos. And you are telling me now, in all sensibilities, that China are going to invest $10 billion in a Jamaica and really expect Jamaica, expect them to earn $10 billion upon them $10 billion, which would add up to like $20 billion, which gone in the trillions. The trillions of Jamaican dollar. Who are going to pay back all them? Who are pay them? What are they going to do to get back that investment? All right, so they're going to build infrastructure and it. How are they going to get it back? Because right now we are struggling with the highway where we suppose them says Jamaica supposed to don't pay it off in a 30 years. What is it that we have to offer this investment? What is the profit margin? What is the deal that will be made when Jamaica falter for all of these investments? When Jamaica falter, them going to take over and control things. Blind is blind. You know what I'm saying? The kingdom of the blind. The one-eyed man is king. But guess what? It's not even one eye them people have. Them have no eye at all. Because there's no way on earth. No way on earth a man can go show me papers to show me say a man going to invest over 10 trillion Jamaican dollar in your country and now expect to get back 20 trillion Jamaican dollar. You know what is the yearly budget for Jamaican people? Just the yearly budget for just run the country. That not gone 5 trillion, you know. Right now there must be about $1 trillion and something, maybe 2 trillion. But I could say there are 2 trillion, 3 trillion. A man are going to invest 10 trillion. Well, I tell you, you can't even find money to run your country. And a man will come in here with more money than what you spend, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times the amount of money where you spend a year to feed your family. I talk about Jamaica, education, health, road, construction, and all them things there. You never spend that in a year, and a man will come here and spend twice what you spend. I mean, you talk about like, wow, are they so dumb and blind that you have presidents out there, you know? You have presidents out there, and usually when you want to figure out certain things, if you have an example to go by, you're liable to have a more footing to understand the whole thing, principle of the thing. But I hear the minister, Mr. Shah Abbas, say the Chinese are going to invest $6 billion in a US dollar in a Jamaica, them give over $1 billion already in investment. What the hell is $1 billion? What $1 billion are going to make? $1 billion US dollar they will make the highway over there, so when them done bill and bill and build them city and build them that. Where the hell them going to get back that money from? What them going to do? What is the plan in a them head? Or in a themself? I say, well, we know that the Jamaican people can't pay back that. We know that them can't pay back them money there. So you know what we're going to do? We done sign something with them for a long time in China. Because Porsche go there, and now this man go there. And when Porsche go there, we never hear nothing. When him come back now, we are here $6 billion investment and $2 billion for Bill City. $8 billion add up to most about 10 trillion Jamaican dollar that. That is about where it lead out, about 10 trillion Jamaican dollar. Jamaica never see them money there yet. There's nothing in Jamaica that turn over $10 trillion. Unless something are going on in Jamaica where we don't know about. Something are going on in Jamaica where we don't know about. So little more you talk about squatter. You talk about squatter land. 700,000 people in Jamaica live on squatter land. When them people are done, you're going to see who are squatter. You made the prime minister, you can't even go in a Jamaica house little more. This is the cutting edge. A long time we don't play that tune here. Next time I'm brethren out of Mobile. Are you where I play that tune for, you know? Yeah, are you where I play that tune for? Listen to Aswad out of England. Dub music. Now tell you if you not play, this is not dub you play. If you claim say you play dub and it's not them tune you play, it's not dub you play. We say that. Okay, so we give thanks. We give thanks for you stay here with me until now. You know, we'll be back here from 2 to 5:45 with the stepping razor, the art of war. We hope that we have done something to stimulate your consciousness, to awaken your sleeping brains. We hope that we have done something to revitalize your energy in what you're supposed to recognize, which is the liberation of the people, African people. So, we are going to go and play some music here until Matrix come.